Every year, thousands of search and rescue operations are conducted to recover the injured, the wounded, or lost. But why do some survive while others do not? Coming up. Hey, welcome back to the channel, friends. As always, man, I am stoked to see you. So coming at you from deep in the heart of the Capitol State Forest. Features almost 100,000 square acres of vast wildlife. It's really diverse. Probably close to 1,000 miles of trail and 500 miles of road system. Right, and so what better place than here to talk about why people get lost out in the wilderness. Let's break this down. Man, you can imagine the horror, the dread that somebody might feel, even if they only become lost for a few hours. As is most the case, right? All those search and rescue operations are not the ones that go by unreported. Those are only the reported case. So you can imagine the tens of thousands of other cases that happen every single year, just in the United States alone, of people who become lost out in the woods. It's so easy to see how and why that can happen. Right, and so today I'm going to give you a few keys to success should you find yourself not knowing exactly where you're at. And we're also going to look at some of the statistics, some of the myths, and some of the facts revolving all of these situations that, if applied, may be the single source reason for why you make it back home to your bed and enjoy a hot chow and warm shower. Right, and so probably myth number one is, what is our actual number one enemy when we're moving around outside? I think because of Hollywood, that myth is it's the wild lion, it's the bear, it's the cougar, it's all these animals that are going to be out there and they're going to eat us. And while it is true that there are animals, even here locally where I'm at right now, that can easily eat me and tear me apart, that is not what we need to be most concerned about. What we need to be most concerned about, truth be told, is things like falls, right? It's a sprained ankle, it's a broken leg, it's having some other health condition, something becomes exasperated and it becomes unmanageable or untreatable, right? Because truth is, you're more likely to die from a swimming or boating accident than by being stung by a swarm of killer bees. Why do people get lost in the first place? What are the contributing factors to this even happening at all in the first place? And most of the time, it's simply because somebody took a wrong step. They thought they were heading down a trail when it turns out that they were really going down an animal trail and they got turned around. They've drifted to the left when they should have stayed to the right. And so what happens next is that moment happens when somebody realizes that they don't know where they are, and all of a sudden they start thinking way too fast and panic starts to hit in. And now what happens is people will venture off trail to try to bushwhack because they think that they know, they're so bullheaded that they know how to get back. Right? And it's easy to see why it would happen. Again, just in this one park area, we have over 1,000 miles of trails and over 500 miles of road system, and they all interlock. You could be on one trail, you're going to cross 4 or 5 other trails, you're going to cross some roads, and it'll be easy to go in one way or another. And that's not even counting all the animal trails that are out here. Right, and so that brings us to our first tip of the day, and that's to maintain some situational awareness. Remain calm and think through what it is that you're going through right now. First thing that we should do is just to stop, take a little pit break, have a meal, have some coffee, have some tea, whatever it is that you do, but just take a break and start to relax and rewind the tape for how you got to where you're at right now. Reorient yourself and get a true direction of north, south, east, and west. Taking an intentional pause and trying to reorient ourselves is one of the key things that we can do to keep anxiety from catching up on us and making us make poor decisions. And anxiety is the number one killer of good decision making out here in the wilderness. Right, and so as you rediscover where you're at, now is a perfect opportune time to decide, do I need to remain where I'm at and stay calm here? Or do I need to try to push it back out to the base camp or to the car? And as we do this, we may take stock of what we have on our person or on our pack. And the truth of the matter is, if most people who get lost simply venture off onto the wrong trail, the one thing that most of them have in common is that they don't have any gear on them other than a camera. And that's because most people who get lost are the day hikers, the tourists, the ones who are just out going to take a good selfie. And that's kind of the difference between the day hiker, the tourist, versus the thru hiker. The thru hiker has a pack, has a packing list, and knows what they're going to experience once they get outdoors. So if they happen to take a wrong turn or they venture down the wrong trail and they find themselves kind of lost, it's not that big of a deal because they already had it in their mindset that they're going to be out for days. It was only going to be out for a couple hours, or maybe just half an hour. And so when that moment happens, the mindset immediately starts racing. They have to figure this out. Time now. And so this all kind of leads us up to our next tip, which is you need to have something more than a camera packed on your back, right? You need to think about basic things like water. Right? You need to stay hydrated so that you're prepared for a long, extended day. Now, other items that we may pack may be dictated off of the terrain and the weather. There's different things for summertime versus springtime, mountains versus the desert. But having a way to start a fire, being able to maintain a core temp, and maybe even provide some overhead shelter, even at the end of the day, that just means you only have a Bic lighter, a puffy vest or jacket, and a large trash bag, right? Because just those items could save your life. And that kind of brings us up to the next tip of the day, and that's to make sure that somebody knows where you're at, who's not going with you, right? You've left a trail map. You know what mile marker that you're getting off the road. They know the route that you're taking. They know when to expect to hear back from you and who to call should they not hear from you. And I think a lot of people don't do this because they think, well, hey, if something happens, a search and rescue operation is really just a phone call away. But what they don't realize is most of the places where search and rescue operations are called in, there is no cell service available. And that's why you need to be proficient at some basic survival skills, being able to start a fire, make a shelter, communicate, maintain some core temp, know how to navigate using analog means and methods like a map and compass. Not to mention nearly every SAR operation doesn't get started on that day. The soonest would be the following morning. So what are you going to do to survive the next 12 to 24 hours? Right, and so that takes us down to our final tip for you, and that's to actually plan your trip. I know it sounds crazy, but I think most people, they just have it in their head, well, I'm gonna pull off on the side of the road and we're gonna go explore this area, or we're gonna to drive over to the next state and we're gonna go check out this area. But this leads to disasters every single year. So take the time to just plan your hike, plan your trip, plan your expedition. Reach out to some local park rangers, do some research online, connect with some local Facebook groups, get some paper maps and learn the terrain for where it is that you're trying to go. What resources are there? What time of year are you trying to go? How populated is the area? Is it dry only? Are fires allowed? What are you going to do about water? Do you need a bear line? Are pets allowed? What are your goals? Do you have the time, the resources, and the experience needed to achieve them safely and successfully? And what kind of packing list do you need for this expedition and this trip to really go out and be stoked and have a good time? Hey, all right, friends, there you go. A couple tips for you should you find yourself becoming lost or disoriented, and even more importantly, a few things that you can put into your kit bag so that that doesn't happen in the first place. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, and click that notification bell so you can stay up to date on some future content. And as always, until then, man, you stay stoked.